Hello, my name is Jeff Good, and I'm the Chief Education Technology Officer at PBS Western Reserve, located in Kent, Ohio. PBS Western Reserve, along with the other Ohio EdTech agencies, are happy to support Digital Learning Day 2021 with video resources that can be used in your classroom. My session is about a recent multimedia production from PBS Western Reserve that focuses on the new computer science standards in Ohio and how some teachers are integrating those standards in their elementary and middle school classrooms across the state. These resources are free for your use and can be found by going to PBS Western Reserve's website at www.pbswesternreserve.org, clicking on the education link at the top banner, and then following through to the educational production section. During the live streaming presentation, I will be taking questions utilizing a Google Doc during that live streaming period of 2 to 2:20 p.m. To ask any questions during the live presentation, please use your cell phone to scan the QR code or follow the link shown, tinyurl.com/1 lowercase l lowercase t lowercase w 4 lowercase d lowercase r 4. Please be aware that the tinyurl link is case sensitive and is located at the bottom of the screen. Please keep in mind if you're viewing this session after the live streaming event, you will not have access to the live question and answer session. Computer science is becoming as essential as math and writing for our future workforce. PBS Western Reserve, in consultation with the computer science standards team from the Ohio Department of Education, has produced a multimedia project that focuses on how Ohio teachers are integrating these new computer science standards in their elementary and middle school classrooms. The project features 6 videos, an introductory video to the standards, and then 5 other videos that take a closer look at how some of Ohio's K-8 teachers are integrating these standards. Now, we're going to take a look at the introductory video as a whole, but then I will highlight sections of the remaining videos in hopes of piquing your interest to view the videos in their entirety. The introductory video for the series covers the computer science learning standards. Let's take a closer look at these new learning standards and their importance in today's classroom and for today's students in the preparation for future careers and opportunities.
Anything else? Yes.
Computer science is challenging but also exciting.
So you're learning so much, but you're having fun at the same time.
They're learning problem solving, computational thinking, and they can integrate that into whatever they want to be when they grow up.
I was going through the process. It's like me getting a little smarter and smarter.
Woo! It's a really great foundation to lead me kind of anywhere I want.
It was just a really great climate, and I knew I wanted to work in a climate like this. And then also I really liked the programming aspect of it as well.
Fresh college graduate Cassidy Rezor is filling one of a growing number of computer science-related jobs, beginning work as a programmer for Highland, a major software company in Northeast Ohio.
We're going to merge. So you want to go to the branches tab?
Cassidy's journey began in Highland's High Tech Club in high school, part of the company's outreach to expose students beginning in middle school to computer science. Highland began the program around 6 years ago.
We have a lot of technical positions to fill. We were seeing applications that didn't quite have the right skills necessary for these jobs, and we dug a little bit deeper and found that it was because there weren't a lot of students going into computer science majors, and part of that is because the lower schools were not teaching computer science, so students weren't getting exposed to computer science at a younger age, and until they're made aware that computer science is a potential major to go into, a thing to study, a field to work in, we're probably going to continue to have that gap.
We are here to highlight that computer science education is foundational and that every student here in Ohio should have access to computer science education.
Ohio held its first ever Computer Science Advocacy Day at the State House in December of 2019.
I'm seeing opportunities for students to just grow and start at an early age, which I think is critical.
Computer science is used in everything.
Computer science teaches you multiple other skills. Like I learned presentation skills through computer science, and inquiry was a major thing that I also learned through computer science.
Computer science, as defined in Ohio legislation, is a broad term that involves deeper thinking and does not always even include a computer. It is defined as logical reasoning, computing systems, networks and the internet, data and analysis, algorithms and programming, impacts of computing, and structured problem-solving skills applicable in many contexts, from science and engineering to the humanities and business. The voluntary standards mesh well with the technology standards, but there are clear differences.
The technology standards focus in on tools and selecting appropriate tools, evaluating tools. What's exciting and a little bit different about the computer science standards is that those tend to be kind of that application piece, that piece where students can really be creators and innovators and really focus in on the problem solving and complex thinking.
Computer science, you can integrate it into anything. Writing, placement of letters. A lot of the things we already do, we don't even realize we're doing computer science. It's just giving ourselves credit for it.
For this lesson, using a simple Tic Tac Toe board, students write down their moves, producing a set of directions or algorithm. The lesson also includes math and English language arts. Rather than focusing on winning a game or finding a quick answer, computer science helps students slow down and think about how they are reaching that solution.
On the standardized test, it's asking you, illustrate, prove, model. And in order to do any of that, you need to be able to visualize it. You need to be able to see it. And so this teaches them how to do that. It's not the answer, it's the process.
A good process for teachers wanting to elevate their lessons with computer science is to look at the standards together.
You'll recognize some terms. We talk about algorithmic thinking in computer science. We talk about algorithms in mathematics. But it really, I think, is best to have conversations with colleagues to really say, what is it that we're trying to uncover here? Or who can we go to? What kind of partnerships do we have in our community, whether it's a business, whether it's higher ed, whether it's a nonprofit organization? How do we kind of reach out to start to think about taking these ideas and blending them together? I've never met a teacher that isn't interested in finding ways to provide the best opportunities for kids. It really, in the end, is about developing students as critical thinkers and problem solvers and giving them those strategies and skills that I think help them be successful regardless of a path they might take after high school.
So now that you have the overview of the computer science standards, Diana Evans from Cleveland Metro Schools takes us through her approach to applying the computer tech standards for her students in grades 1 through 4, progressing them along the standards through each grade. Let's take a quick look.
Is how many green and yellow blocks do you have together? All together. Now I'm going ahead and put my blocks in here. I just have some squares. The students will draw theirs. 3 plus 7 is 10. Well, I know that I have the most of the yellow cubes. So I know that that's going to be the largest piece of my pie. I had one brown one, so that's 1/15.
The final step uses Scratch, a free programming language and online community where students create interactive stories, games, and animations, according to the Scratch website. This is one of many computer science resources for students.
When they write it out, put it in Scratch, and run it, they will get just a basic chart that should look just like their chart over here. Okay? Okay? Just a very simple program. This will be the basic program that any of the students should be able to do.
Now, Diana took us through the early grades, grades 1 through 4. Now, integrating Tic Tac Toe is an approach that Rachel Williams is using in her classes as an intervention specialist at Warrensville Heights City Schools. But she takes the game to a new level when students have to create instructions, much like computer programming, for other students to follow.
I have a tic-tac-toe board. I want you to write you and your partner's name, and I want you to tell me exactly what you did. So your partner's going to write what they did. You're going to write what you did for your turn, okay? It relates to computer science because it's all about programming. A program is only as smart as the human that programs it. So if it's not explicit directions, exact, precise, you'll come up with a whole different outcome.
O won the game.
The students mark X's and O's, jotting down their moves, mostly focused on winning, until Mrs. Williams collects their game boards.
You have to follow their directions exactly as they have them written on their paper and play tic-tac-toe and show me what you come up with. You cannot look at what they're actually, all you're doing is reading their directions, okay? They're going to read your directions, and they're going to see if they came up with the same tic-tac-toe board. Okay? Actually, you can switch.
They messed it
No,
up.
don't say they messed it up. You have to follow their directions. You have to follow exactly what they said. So guess what?
The aim has changed from winning to replicating the game board.
O went to middle and left. What?
I saw them start with a fun tic-tac-toe to like, when they received someone else's directions, they were like, this doesn't make sense. This, they should have said this. They should have done this. So then you see the thought process of, okay, now I realize with my own game what I should have written.
Rachel took tic-tac-toe and created, and the students had to learn about algorithms. The Goodyear Challenge is a great opportunity for students in Akron Public Schools to apply computer programming and coding using small robots called Ozobots. However, during the pandemic, teachers Susan Hall and Brenda Layton had to pivot their approach, moving to a virtual approach to the challenge.
Oh, I put a U-turn.
Oh, yeah,
In the tournament, which began a few years ago, teams worked to navigate an Ozobot along a track designed by Goodyear. The Ozobot reads the sequences of colors or code that direct its movements. Some of these codes are part of the game board designed by Goodyear.
There are some codes that are printed that cannot be changed. And the codes make the robots go in different directions at different speeds and do line jumping to the left, to the right.
Students practice along the track before the tournament, but they have no idea where the points are located until competition day. There are also additional directions that require them to react quickly with various codes at their fingertips.
They have to be ready to lay down code on the track at any moment to change direction or move in and into a point where they can collect points before they hit the finish line.
Students also have to accommodate the track conditions. If they learn it is snowy, for example, they need to code for the correct Goodyear tire to best navigate the weather.
Maybe they'll, okay, I didn't use a snow tire. I used an off-highway tire. I probably got the job done, but maybe not as well. So let me refine the option, use the snow tire, and watch how the point system, they'll be able to get more points. They'll get through the track quicker.
The Goodyear Challenge was a great opportunity for students in Akron Public Schools, but Renee Cooley of Reynoldsburg City School works the computer science standards into her ELA classes by having her sixth graders create websites that focus on a character and history. Let's take a closer look.
Anybody can teach themselves how to code through Codeorg. It's a free curriculum. You log in. There are lessons that will walk you through it. That's how I learned it before I taught it. I did the lessons myself as a student. And I think that goes a long way to trying to understand HTML and CSS and JavaScript and all these things that sound so foreign, but it only takes a few lessons to think that's not so foreign. That's not so scary. It's not so intimidating.
Then we get to change the color of the paragraphs and stuff, and you get to use the CSS style sheet to use your creative thinking.
That's the name that has to go in your code. In between. Students are learning the computer languages of HTML and CSS. So they're learning how to create not just the words on the page, but to style it to make it look like a website. Background images, text, different fonts. They're also learning how to create a digital artifact, which is their website.
See, you got it to do it.
And they're learning digital citizenship. So knowing where to look for information and knowing how to share that information. To go out
And finally, identity theft and hacking are problems we hear about every day. The Great Lakes Science Center, working along with Tina Kovach of Cleveland Metro Schools, developed a training program that teaches students about hacking, all without using any technology.
I want to know how hackers are getting our information, how we can prevent it from happening.
A way to prevent hacking comes in part 2 of the lesson. The hacker has to write down a long list of random numbers instead of words, and then decipher them later.
15.
Oh.
Hey, you got some. Not bad, not bad. One.
This was hard. Figure out. So it's a lot harder to write down a bunch of numbers and figure out what's after, right? You want words to memorize to go off of, right? Makes sense?
The Great Lakes Science Center teaches today's lesson without computers. It is part of its Creating Connections 8 program.
We figured that not every school is going to be built equal. Not every school has a rack of laptops or a rack of iPads. So we start with data and we start using analog activities. You have a much better chance of understanding without getting tripped up with syntax, without having to understand computer code. This is just an excellent way to get the concepts into these kids' minds.
So once again, that is our Computer Science in the Classroom Ohio Standards multimedia program that was produced in collaboration with the Ohio Department of Education. Thank you so much for your time viewing this presentation. Once again, my name is Jeff Good. I'm from PBS Western Reserve. PBS Western Reserve, along with those Ohio EdTech agencies, are happy once again to support you on Digital Learning Day 2021. My session focused on the new computer science standards in Ohio. Western Reserve is highlighting how some teachers are integrating those standards in the elementary and middle school classrooms across the state. Once again, these resources are free for your use, and you can find them by going to the PBS Western Reserve website at www.pbswesternreserve.org and following the education link through to the educational production session. Thank you for your time again, and please reference the certificate code COMP2 It's a case sensitive and all caps, and you will that'll qualify you for you to receive CEU credit for viewing this presentation. Thanks again for watching.